Hey guys, today we are going to talk about how to define the category of your product. Now the way you define the category of your product actually helps the consumer recall your product. What that means is a brand called Radler. This is from Kingfisher and it's a zero alcohol beer. Now when you say zero alcohol beer, it's actually just an aerated drink which should be in the same category as say Coke or Pepsi or Mountain Dew. But they've kept it in the category of beer, right? Now this change in category actually helps them define as to when will you recall about the brand. When you are partying in a state like Gujarat, you might want to have beer, but because it is banned, you might want to have say zero alcohol beer, or maybe it's just too fun to have zero alcohol beer. But if you call it say another 7-Up or Mountain Dew or Coke, you are competing in a very different category. This will also help you determine the pricing. Now if you say you are just another aerated drink, Radler is a new kind of aerated drink, you would probably have to keep the pricing closer to Coke, which is about 15 to 20 rupees. Now but when you say you are a zero alcohol beer, you can keep the pricing closer to an alcoholic beer, which could be about 150 rupees depending on where you stay in India. Now the change in category help you do two things: A, positioning, right, and the recall rate. So how do you really select which category your brand falls into or your product falls into? The idea is to always select a very, very broad category that people will understand in simple terms and then tell your speciality on top of it. So I could be say a e-commerce site, but I do only electronics. Now this positioning actually helps get a better recall and also understand your speciality. The way you define the category could actually be different for a user, for an investor, or for an employee. The same terms and the same lingo will not be understood by all three people. So let's take another example. In my previous company, we used to help people decide which phone to buy and from which website. It was a price comparison engine, but because we helped you also decide which phone to buy, we ended up calling it a shopping decision-making platform. Now when you say price comparison, it sounds simple and a layman will understand. But when you call it a shopping decision-making platform, it sounds complicated and the expectations are higher. Now had we just called it say price comparison, but we are a little more intelligent than the competitors, this is easier to understand. We will be compared on the same matrix, but we will always be leading in those matrix because we've optimized for that niche. Now these categories can be very difficult to define for new products. For example, Slack. Now if you have to explain this to a new user, would you say Slack is replacing emails or is Slack replacing chat? The real answer is somewhere in between. The interface is chat, but in the longer term, it ends up replacing all the internal emails. So the way you define this category can actually evolve over time, and that is absolutely okay. Don't be in a rush, but just keep the terms very, very simple so that you can always cast a broader net. Hope this is helpful. Let me know in the description below.